You need to get that black guy out of here now." I heard the manager hiss into his walkie-talkie. I didn't have to look up to know who he meant. I was the only one in that lobby pushing a mop bucket. His name was Scott Harmon, general manager of the Rosewood Monarch, one of those five-star places in downtown Dallas with gold-plated elevators and overpriced water bottles. The kind of place where smiles are fake and power games play out over lobster dinners. That day I was wearing the same thing I wore every day. Navy blue janitor uniform, rubber gloves tucked into my back pocket, and a name tag no one ever read. 4 years working there, and Scott still called me buddy or hey you. But this morning was different, because standing across the marble-tiled lobby was a Chinese businessman named Mr. Feng, real estate billionaire, controlled half the skyline in Shanghai, and according to rumor, he was ready to drop $250 million on a hotel investment in Texas. This one meeting would make or break Scott's career, and he was sweating through his tailored shirt like a busted pipe. Mr. Feng stepped in with his entourage, 6 suits, all stone-faced, all speaking rapid Mandarin. And right away, I saw it, something was off. Mr. Feng was asking questions, sharp ones, pointing to the blueprints, speaking faster. Scott kept smiling like a used car salesman, nodding like he understood, but I could tell he was drowning. The moment he reached for Google Translate, I knew it was over. He typed in Mandarin like he was poking at a bomb, 2 fingers frantic. The app spit out something about hot fish problem and dirty water business. One of Feng's guys snorted, trying not to laugh. Mr. Feng's smile dropped. His tone shifted. His brows knit together in that way people do when they're done being polite. I was standing by a potted plant wiping down glass that didn't need cleaning, watching the whole train wreck in real time. And here's the thing, what no one in that room knew is that I speak fluent Mandarin, not just restaurant menu Mandarin. I mean, 2 years at university, lived in Guangzhou for 6 months, studied international trade and business law. I had dreams, real ones. But reality said, "You're a black guy in Texas with a name that sounds like jazz music. Don't get too ambitious." So I sent out 140 resumes after college. Got close a few times. Almosts. We'll be in touch. Eventually, I ran out of rent money and options. That's how I ended up cleaning floors in a hotel I once dreamed of managing. That morning, Scott had gathered all of us janitors in the basement, told us to disappear while the VIP was on site. People like him expect a certain standard, he said, looking right at me like I was a stain on the carpet. That was his first mistake. Now, back in the lobby, Mr. Feng checked his watch, said something that didn't need translation. "If we don't get answers in 5 minutes, we leave." Scott froze. You could see the dollar signs slipping through his fingers. He begged. Literally begged. But Feng just stared at him like, this man is not serious. And then I stepped forward. I didn't even think about it. Just peeled off my gloves, straightened my back, and walked toward them like I'd been doing it my whole life. Each step felt like pushing through cement, but also like coming home. Scott turned face red. "Tyrell, what are you doing? Get back to your station." But I didn't even look at him. I turned to Mr. Feng, bowed slightly, and said in Mandarin, "I apologize for the confusion, sir. I believe I can assist." Dead silence. One of the suits did a double take. Mr. Feng raised an eyebrow, then tested me. He asked a question about recent Brazilian reforms in foreign investment law. I answered it clean. Cited dates, article numbers, implications for real estate structures. Scott looked like he saw a ghost. Mr. Feng smiled for the first time. "Where did you study?" he asked me. "UT Austin, business major, focused on international trade and Mandarin as my minor." Scott blurted, "Wait, you speak Chinese?" Since when? It was on my resume, I said, without turning around. Page 2. He went pale. Feng chuckled. And what is your position here? I paused and answered, officially custodial services. Feng looked at Scott hard. You had this man cleaning bathrooms, Scott stuttered. Well, I didn't. I wasn't aware. Mr. Feng didn't bother replying. He just motioned for me to join him in the conference room upstairs. And I did. Laptop in hand, one I kept locked in my locker for years, full of research notes, reports I'd written on my breaks, for fun, or maybe for this exact moment. That meeting, I led it. I walked them through tax codes, environmental protocols, regional investment risks, and cultural adaptation strategies for Chinese tourists in Texas. Mr. Feng was nodding the whole time. At one point, he even said, "Your analysis is more current than my firm's own legal team." Scott sat there, silent, irrelevant. When it ended, Mr. Feng offered me a position director of international relations, said he wouldn't finalize the deal unless I was part of the team. Scott had no choice but to smile and agree. 3 months later, I was sitting in my new office on the 15th floor with a view of the skyline I used to dream about while scrubbing toilets. My name, Tyrell Moore, engraved on the door. My diploma, once collecting dust under my bed, now framed behind me. And Scott, he's on the night shift now. Still wears a suit, but no one's calling him into high-level meetings anymore. Last week we shared an elevator. He couldn't look me in the eye. I told him, "Scott, you know, the best investment I ever made was keeping my mouth shut until the right time came to speak." He nodded. Quiet. No snark, no power move, just a man who finally saw what he refused to see for years. And now every time someone says, "Why are you still here? Why didn't you quit long ago?" I just smile. Because sometimes the sweetest justice isn't revenge. It's rising so high they can't help but look up. If you've ever been overlooked, disrespected, or passed over just because of how you look, where you're from, or what uniform you wear, tell me your story in the comments. Let's talk about talent, about prejudice, about second chances. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, because someone out there needs to hear that their moment is coming too.